Joining us now is Oji with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you?
I'm fine.
I love your smile. I've heard that I should stop complimenting you. How about that?
Who said that?
I don't know. Some people.
Some people are jealous of me?
Yes, so I don't know.
That's jealousy.
How could they say that?
Can you imagine a whole Dr. Abati?
Well, maybe because of a request I made yesterday.
I don't know about that request.
I have handled that request, don't worry. It's been rejected.
Rufai, good morning. How are you?
See, Oji.
I'm listening.
Oji Pepperito. Oji Nika Pepper Dem, Scotch Bonnets.
Rotus has warned you.
Don't be listening to people like Rotus. I know it's people like Rotus that say not compliment Doctor, but don't be listening to people like Rotus.
Okay.
They are personal non-grata. Don't be listening to people like Rotus, Oji.
Noted.
Just be looking at our face. Oji Nika.
As long as you can make me dance and smile.
Oji Nika Pepper.
Anyway, Oji, what do you have
It's
for us?
fantastic. I do have a lot of stories. Let's start in Nigeria. Good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in Nigeria. The River State Governor, Wike, has responded to threats made by the Kano State Governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, over his role in the Edo State governorship elections. Ganduje had on Monday said the APC will humiliate the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, by isolating Governor Wike until the elections were over. In response, Governor Wike said a man who had been caught pocketing dollars is the one who deserves to be isolated. Well, let's take a listen.
Yesterday, I was told, and today I read on pages of newspaper that one governor, the governor of Kano State, Ayasu, he said is Ganduje. He said he was going to isolate me until the election is over. That tells you if Nigeria is supposed to be a country, who is supposed to be isolated? Who is supposed to be isolated? A man who pockets dollars in Bavaria from contractors is not isolated, and you say me will be isolated. You see, that's why I say this country, where are we heading to? Look at me. As somebody who puts dollars from left, right, in Bavaria from contractor is saying that I will be isolated. Let me assure you, why they made Ganduje the chairman of the campaign council is because of the dollar they saw. It's because of the dollar. But for the dollar, Ganduje will not have been made the chairman of the campaign council. But what they don't understand, that we, from the Niger Delta, will chop the dollar and will chop him into a coma. So, Ganduje, your dollar will not work in Edo State.
This political war between all these people, I don't understand it. I mean, but I think that Governor Ganduje using the word isolation center, knowing that we have a pandemic, it's quite sensitive. I didn't think it was necessary. I think he should have used another, political lexicon to describe what he wanted to do to Governor Wike. I mean, everyone's already complaining about the word isolation, and people are actually running away from isolation centers at this point. So I think it's quite, weird that he used that word. But I don't know. These fights will continue to happen.
When I watched the video of
Yes.
Governor Ganduje, and it appeared that comment was sort of tongue-in-cheek, sort of like a joke. But if it was a joke, it is a joke that was in poor taste.
Yes.
People are dying of
Exactly.
COVID-19. You cannot say that. And obviously, you had this retort by Governor Wike, which is to be expected. And it's political gladiators squaring up to one another. That's perfectly, natural. We expect that. But what my issue is, we spent all morning and most of yesterday morning talking about President Buhari's anti-corruption fight and Magu and what have you. That point Governor Wike made about the Ganduje scandal is actually apt.
Correct.
We've been talking about the anti-corruption fight and the lopsidedness thereof. And I might forget sound bites. We all might forget sound bites, but we don't forget images. A picture says 1,000 words. What flashed in my mind when he said that was President Buhari holding up Governor Ganduje's hand during the campaign. That is an indelible image. We must continue to stress that that anti-corruption fight must be taken seriously and that there should be no sacred cows. So in all these jokes and what have you, that is a very serious point as far as I'm concerned.
Correct.
Well, I think in the midst of everything, this is good comic relief. Very refreshing repartee from the governor of Rivers State. And in any case, you know that Ganduje, what he's referring to there, his nickname also, you know, generally is Gandola.
Gandola.
Yes. But you know how that story ended. Nothing came out of it.
Exactly.
He was not indicted by anybody. But I think that this is Governor Wike's own way of getting back at him. I mean, Ganduje is his colleague. He knows that he's governor of Kano State. They refer to him as one Ganduje.
Yes, what's his name again? What's that guy called?
You know, as if, you know, his colleague is just one non-entity, unknown, person. But in any case, Governor Ganduje is saying that Wike will be isolated if he dared to come to Benin, either before or on September 19, when the election in Edo State is supposed to take place. Is, just mere political talk.
Yeah.
Because interstate travel has been lifted, has been allowed. You know, there's no ban on interstate travel. So there's nothing that stops Governor Wike as a PDP person going to Edo State to support the candidate of the PDP in the election. But as I said, it's, refreshing comic relief. And, it's part of politics. Politicians taking, shots at
But I think
each
they
other.
should take away this isolation center talk. It's such a sensitive thing. I don't think
It's
people
awful.
should
It's in
laugh
very
about it.
protest.
Well,
what is your take on that, Rufai?
I mean, Governor Wike has those comebacks. I call him the king of comebacks. You know, he was the one that called, I think, a local king in Rivers State. He said he was wearing Usman Danfodio hats. if you remember that episode.
Yes.
So he's got a lot of that. But it's reflective of our politics. It could be comical. I don't support the talk about isolation center because a lot of people are currently fighting for their lives at isolation center. So we should be very, very sensitive. And just to align with you, I'm sure that nobody from EFCC ever saw that dollar video. I'm sure.
I mean, when we're talking anti-corruption fight.
Nobody ever. I'm not even sure Magu saw it himself. Nobody saw that video. That video must have just gone in the air like that, and we've forgotten about it. So since everybody has said we should forget about the dollar video, we should forget about it too. Selective amnesia. But those are things we can't forget about because the citizens and the lives of the citizens are at stake.
Very true.
That money can do well to build hospitals in his states.
Well, nothing has been proven yet, so we'll still have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
All right, should we take another story? It's still in Nigeria. Senator Dino Melaye has reacted to the ongoing presidential probe of the acting chairman of the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu. Melaye, in a new video captioned, Kama Nashege, posted on his Instagram page, said he has warned the president several times that there are many Magus in his administration, but he didn't listen. Let's take a look at this video.
I talk about Magu. Buhari no green listing. Now Buhari don't see for himself. Oh, say many Magu. Then plenty for him government. M-A-G-U. Magu.
I'm just waiting for his music contract. What's going on? I mean, this guy's been going on posting all these songs on his
Instagram. He's a pop star in the making. Did you see him with his shades indoors, like a real pop star?
But you know, he's always doing this. He's always jubilating over people's, kind of downfall. I don't understand why he does that anyways.
This is Schadenfreude at its most awful. He's gleeful about somebody else's misfortune.
I don't understand it.
Well, the truth of the matter is that
just so you know.
Senator Dino Melaye has attracted far more attention for his comic skits than even for the great work that he did as a senator or his involvement as a politician. What we're told is that, in fact, he's now in Nollywood. I understand he has taken part in a particular film, which may hit the screens very soon. So it's interesting to see that out of the Senate, he has found a new vocation for himself as a comedian.
And a musician.
His commentary here is, on what is happening to the EFCC chairman, right?
Yes.
And what he has said is not different from what others have said. He's talking about karma and how this is a karmic experience that Ibrahim Magu is going through. More or less, it's the same thing that Michael Zekome SAN has said in an extended essay on the same issue. But he has taken the option of comedy and a song to put it and has put a dance to it.
Come on, shake.
So, but I'm not too sure that Ibrahim Magu and his supporters will find this fun.
No, of course not. I mean, I don't even think it's necessary. Sometimes you just have to, play low when things like this are high, You
say you're expecting him to wax an album soon?
Yes. I'm waiting for that, Rufai. What are your thoughts on this?
I feel very sad that Dino Melaye couldn't even come up with something innovative. He had to steal the tune of a very famous song, Everything He Did for Nigeria. Make we join hands, make Nigeria better.
So you say he's not innovative?
So he's not innovative.
It's a cover version.
He should go back to the studio.
No contract for him then.
Secondly, he should work on his voice. Work on his voice very well. And thirdly, Mr. Dino, look at your house. Very well furnished. Gold everywhere. We would like you too to come to account of how all this was made. It looks, I think it was Liberals that was saying that government is the biggest business in this country. Somebody served 2-3 terms in the Senate. They have stupendous luxury and stupendous wealth. That's why a lot of people don't even want restructuring in the first place.
Well, Rufai, a word of caution there. A man can live the way he chooses to live. Once it is not proven that whatever he has in his living room is the proceed of corrupt practices.
No, I have not.
Then, of course, you cannot indict him on television.
I have not said it's corrupt practices, and I have not said anything as regards that. But I am just saying that let's look at antecedents of people and going into government and making money out of government at the expense of other people.
To the best of our knowledge, Dino Melaye has not been indicted.
I have not said he's been indicted.
Either at the state level or at the federal level.
I have not said he's been indicted. I have not said any case of corruption has been brought against him. I'm just saying the affluence of those that go through government.
Well, if that is his personal choice, then that is his choice. If no questions are raised in that regard, then he's free.
But I think I know where Rufai is coming from, because there were some videos that were circulating some months ago about how his flamboyancy,
he may be flamboyant, he may be loud for a purpose,
so
but that should not lead to insinuations.
For what purpose, though?
Anyway,
I mean,
we have to a short break now.
Okay.
When we return, what's trending with OGOP, we'll continue. Please. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us, we have OGOP with what's trending around the world. OG?
Thank you, Dr. Vati. Well, take another story in Nigeria. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has described the amended 6th Broadcasting Code by the National Broadcasting Commission as a war by the government on the arts and its producers. In a statement on Tuesday, Professor Soyinka said after reading excerpts of the newly proposed NBC Broadcasting Code, he discovered some potentially dangerous aspects of it. He pointed out the consequences of censorship in the age of digital media, stating, in quote, "These restrict intellectual property rights and their scope of exploitation with whomsoever one chooses to collaborate. It is economic sabotage writ large, directed against thousands of practitioners. Regulatory, this is strangulatory in effect." The laureate went on to say, "Let government kindly take its knee off the neck of this industry. Please let it breathe," end quote. I love the fact that he used that term that is circulating everywhere, take your knee off our neck. I mean, it's really strange times right now with, regulations and broadcast media. I think one of the changes that happened, I believe that the NBC reviewed some of the code last month, correct me, Dr. Batty, if I'm wrong. And I think one of the major things that I found weird with those regulations was that the content Nigerian producers should be producing should be targeted to just Nigeria. And some of the people, the directors and the producers should be of Nigerian descent, which I found very strange. Like, yes, we should make our content, but we should also make it for the global audience. If we're going to continue to restrict our arts just for the Nigerian audience, I just think it's completely absurd.
There's that, and
yes,
also just the attack on exclusivity, which for me is the most basic of tenets where intellectual property is concerned.
Yes.
The regulator should not be able to tell anybody how to share their work. It's just so, it's fundamental. It's clear that stakeholders were simply not consulted in this process. Somebody dropped a ball big time, and it's time to just go back to the drawing board. This has been rejected all round.
Well, what we're told is that the review of the sixth edition of the National Broadcasting Code was meant to prevent anti-competitive behavior and monopoly, and also to promote local content. But in the real sense, some of those regulations, amended regulations, stifle creativity,
yes,
and also violate the intellectual property and copyright rights of content developers. And I think it's very important that a person of the stature of Professor Wole Soyinka is speaking out in support of the industry. And indeed, in his comment, he referred us to a piece written by Chrissy Hidero.
Correct.
Why is the NBC killing local content providers, which is an essay written by Chrissy Hidero, who is himself a content creator and a filmmaker. Now, one of the issues is about the sale of airtime, which is a contradiction in terms. The NBC wants to fix how you sell your product. If you produce a particular content now, they want to fix the rate at which you sell either to Netflix or to NTA. I think what the NBC should be thinking about is creating a level playing field. And the NBC should be a neutral regulator rather than a dictator. That's one point. The second point is that the review of that broadcasting code, what we have been told is that, look, the stakeholders within the industry were not even consulted. Now, how do you change a code, a broadcast code, and then you do not have a prior conversation? Yeah. I think the net effect of all of this is that the NBC should take a second look at that code, should have a stakeholders consultative meeting, and then review it. Because what is clear is that the industry has rejected those amendments. And third, the other issue that has to be addressed is this sale of the selling of airtime. If you want to put your content on NTA, for example, you have to buy airtime, and meanwhile you are adding value. So all of these are issues within the industry that should be addressed. Beyond all of that, number 4 is what we have been saying about intervention in the creative industry and in the media. Yesterday, I talked about a media intervention fund in response to the plan by the Ministry of Information to give discount to owners of broadcast licenses up to about 60% within a space of 3 months. Now, and I said yesterday that that does not go far enough. So there are many issues that need to be addressed, and I hope that the Minister of Information will convene a stakeholders meeting around all of these issues to see how government can be seen to be supportive of a strategic industry that is relevant to the development process, rather than government claiming to be supporting the industry on one hand, and then introducing codes and regulations that sabotage the interests of stakeholders.
I just think you cannot stifle creativity. That's my own take on that. What's your take, Rufai?
Made in tandem with the realities on ground. I mean, they don't even know the realities on ground. Media has changed tremendously. The landscape has changed. It's gone digital. Content is king now. I think what the Ministry of Information and Culture should concern themselves with is even deliver, and probably the NBC should deliver on the digitization they promised for so many years ago. That's a big bone in their neck. Let them deliver that first before they even talk about this content environment and this content climate, because a lot of people don't even understand it. It's changed. It's changed tremendously. And you can multiply your content, and there's no how that you're not going to have monopoly in a market like this. So today, Netflix is still sort of like a monopoly, despite the fact that you have Disney Plus. It's about your spending power and how much you can spend on content. So it's changed. They don't even get it to start with. Let them focus themselves on the digitization, ensure that there's effective digitization, then we can have more array of content on various bouquet of platforms, and then from there we scale. But it's obvious they don't get it, those decisions. And I'm happy that Professor Wole Soyinka has come out to talk about it. And going forward, please, Minister of Information, let us try to put people in position that understand the system, that are technocrats in the system. It's really very important. It's really important.
Very well said, Rufai. Should we head over to the U.S.? Let's take a story in the United States. President Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump, have accused the president in her forthcoming book of being a psychopath who paid friends to write his SAT exams. In a book titled Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man, Mary accuses Donald Trump's father of creating a toxic family dynamic that best explains how the president acts today. Mary Trump, whose father, Freddie Trump, died following struggles with alcoholism, writes that she could no longer remain silent following the past 3 years of Trump's presidency. The White House Deputy Press Secretary, Sarah Matthews, in a statement, said the book is clearly in the author's own financial self-interest, which, of course, might be true. I mean, why did it take her so long to write this book? I mean, not at this point when everyone is talking about, you remember Bolton's book that was so controversial, as well as hers, because you know that the court stopped her book as well. They stopped her book, and now I think is going to be released 2 weeks earlier because of demand. But the damning statements in that book was completely, almost in line with what everyone has been saying, right? But the fact that she's a family member makes it almost very credible, Donald Trump paying his friend to write SAT exams. I mean, I'm sure that's like a huge stab in his chest at this point.
She's not only a family member, she's also, she holds a doctorate in clinical psychology. So she actually performed a clinical evisceration of Donald Trump's character, and it's very damning, her claims. But she actually called him a sociopath.
Yes.
That's one. And secondly, with regards to timing, revenge is a dish best served cold. She took her time, and she does claim in the book, she makes her motives quite clear. She feels that Donald Trump destroyed her father, so I guess this is her payback. But yeah, she claimed that Donald Trump got a brainy guy, a friend of his called Joe Shapiro, to write his SATs. And now, poor Joe Shapiro is going to be the most wanted man in America. All the media are going to go looking for this poor man. I feel sorry for him. Yes. But she made some points about how Donald Trump needs to be stopped. He must not be re-elected. That he's a danger to
I don't think whatever she says matters at this point. People are still going to re-elect him, I think so.
What do you think?
Yes, of course.
My training as a critic does not allow me to comment on a book that I have not read.
Okay,
and
good.
I do not judge a book by its cover.
I'll get you one. It's coming out soon.
After reading the book, I'll be able to offer a professional opinion.
No worries.
But thank you very much,
Thank you, Dr. Mati.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.